Welcome to Prompt and Circumstance, where four seasoned business leaders pull up to the round table and riff on the wild world of AI. It's human-friendly banter about code, culture, and CEO reality checks. Served up by Mike Richardson, Ryan Neiman, Mark Redgrave, and Tom Adams. No jargon, no hype, just real talk from four guys who've seen it all and aren't afraid to say what everyone's thinking. Pull up a chair, let's get into it.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 4. We're at episode 4. Like, I can't believe it. When we started this thing, I thought we might not even get to the end of episode 1 and still be friends. So, episode 4 of Prompt and Circumstance. Thanks for joining us this morning. Our whole thing here is there's 4 of us and we want to help CEOs and leaders who are trying to navigate this AI thing. And there's a lot of uncertainties, a lot of things we need to understand, and we want to go on that journey together. So look, I've got 3 amazing colleagues on this morning. Just want to introduce them again so you know who everyone is. Firstly, Tom, a serial innovator, AI amazing person. Tom, one word that sums up how you're feeling today. One word.
I am feeling exploratory.
Oh, nice.
I'm worried. Okay, that's good. Next up, Ryan, C-level executive, forward thinker, prompt expert. One word, Ryan. Give me, where are you at?
Energized. Let's go.
All right. And last but absolutely not least, because he's got the microphone of all microphones, Mr. Mike Richardson, incredible coach, executive. Give me the word, Mike. Where are you at?
Excited.
All right. My word for this week is confused. And I didn't want to disappoint anybody. But you know,
at least it wasn't depressed. No. We're making progress here.
Yeah, no, I'm wonderfully confused this week. So that's I think that's good, and looking forward to the discussion. I missed the last one because I was actually on vacation, which was amazing. But it sounds like you guys had an excellent conversation last time. Today we're just gonna change the gist a little bit because I want to talk about business, right?
Wow.
So we'll angle into that in a second, because obviously the business of AI is, I think, where a lot of our contacts on our network, where they're really starting to lean into this. So that's interesting. But look, let's do the usual format. So let's go around the room and just say what's caught our attention this week. Would love to do that. Let's do it in reverse. Mike, why don't you lead us out? What's caught your attention?
Yeah, well, actually, some things that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks with my CEO forums, inspired by the book, The AI-Driven Leader, that Ryan introduced us to. You know, in there, he talks about, get out of feeling overwhelmed by choosing one thing that you can sort of lean into and tackle as a project. So I facilitated a little sort of template that I put together using the old adage of better, faster, cheaper. And I invited the members to brainstorm, firstly, what do you wish was much better in your business? It's just falling short of what you wish. What do you wish was much faster? It just takes a heck of a lot longer than you wish. What do you wish was just cheaper? It just costs way more than you wish it did. Brainstorm those things sort of independently and then see what triangulates into the middle as, a project that can shuffle its way into the middle, and you can now bite off and just begin to put a game plan together, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, where you're going to truly tackle this thing. You're not going to tickle it. I love to ask that question. Are you tickling this or are you tackling this?
Yeah, I love that.
You're truly going to tackle this thing, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and really lean into it. So that's what I've been, that's what's been catching my attention, Mark.
That's smart though, right? Because one of the conversations we're having with a lot of these CEOs is not sure where to start. So I actually love that idea of, on those 3 dimensions, like the overlap, right? The middle. If something comes up in all 3 places, that would be a good place to start looking, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good approach. Ryan, what's caught your eye, mate?
I would say Agentic AI cost for code development caught my eye. So we're seeing some immense advancements in agentic code development, and our team really started to dive in on a recent release from one of the majors, and it blew the budget quickly. It was released that, man, the agent will run for 200 hours. And I thought, man, running for 200 hours is going to kind of rack up the bill. And sure enough, it wasn't more than just maybe 45 minutes in, and we started to see just the meter starting to run. But we were equally impressed and satisfied to watch the development of the application agentically, and equally like, okay, we got to retool and rethink how we're approaching it, kind of diversify our tool set, because we had other subscriptions that were, more not as consumption based. But just absolutely fascinating to see the advancements continue to make it ridiculously easy to continue to build valuable applications or refactor old applications and code bases that are out there. But yep, cost, man, that just really just started the meter to a new level.
Yeah, yeah. So in the interests of buzzword bingo, right? Like agentic AI. Okay, because I know we've mentioned it in already, but like just remind people who are tuning in, what is that?
Yeah, you bet. So I would delineate it this way. So AI, a lot of people, we've talked about actually prompt engineering and working with AI and large language models, and you start to add in agents, which actually do work. So you can think of, actually go and complete this task for me and come back with a response. And then you get into agentic AI, which is more like setting a goal and allowing the agent to go accomplish the goal. This was asked to me just recently, and I often think of it this way. We're all familiar with using a routing software or like Waze or Apple Maps or Google Maps. I mean, you don't really sit there and say, well, go down to the street, go to the stop sign, then take a left. I mean, you just say, I need to get to the airport. And it says, great, here's the best route, pick your route, and I'll route you there along the way safely and avoid traffic obstructions and things of that nature. And so agentic AI is like saying, I need to accomplish this goal. And it's able to self-resolve, take actions on your behalf. And in many cases, in really good systems, it'll have human in the loop, meaning like, is this what you meant? Or am I still doing the right thing? You say yes or no, and then it adjusts accordingly.
Yeah, and so I think that's a great description. Like for me, I don't think agentic's a very good name, by the way. That ship sailed, but it's like
yes, you are going to change that.
But it feels like, because the whole point of agentic is like it's end to end, like outcome, right? You're trying to do something as a series of events and decisions that, like you say, get you from your house to the airport. And that's what agentic is, right? So super exciting. And I spoke to a client a month or so ago, and they were saying how we can expect companies in the not too distant future not to be running 3 or 4 agentic agents. They will be running 20,000 agents, right? So there's an order of magnitude here, which is really pretty hard to digest, right? Thank you, though. Great. Tom, this week, what is it, man? What's got you going?
Well, what's got me going this week is I went off the grid this week like you did a couple of weeks ago. And what I noticed is those of us who are in AI or talking about AI are very aware of it. But outside, I think like there's so many places where you go that's it's clearly evident. There's an AI use case, an agent use case, an assistant use case, and nobody's using it, like notifications, information, access to stuff that's happening behind their company walls, like restaurants and hotels and all kinds of stuff. And I keep going, my goodness, with those of us who are sort of inside keep going, the opportunity is immense. But a lot of people, AI to them is the chat bot that sits on their desk sometimes and they ask it to help them, clean up some copy. That's about the extent of what I see in the world. And I keep going, yeah, we're all going, oh my gosh, the world's caving in and costs of coding and all that. But like, there's this tiny little percentage of us that are in the game who are seeing it more than just the chatbot. And granted, the chatbot has gone exponential. Like it's an amazing tool, but it's not really where this whole thing's going. It's just the doorway drug. And I don't know, there's that old line, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And it's kind of cool to be a king every so often.
Take that one to the bank, everybody.
We've got a limited amount of time here. So I would tell you this, so I actually remember somewhere in the 90s being with a friend at a Starbucks talking about internet. And everybody in the Starbucks was talking internet. And I remember this distinctly. He was pitching me a business idea. We're really kind of going back and forth. And I was reminded of that feeling because I was talking with a friend of mine who lives in the Bay Area. And he's like, we're just talking agents and everybody in Starbucks is talking agents. And he was feeling this compelling sense of, man, we're just, how do we stay ahead? And I said, hold up. No one outside of San Francisco is feeling that.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
like Tom, like what you just described, there are people that are working at a Marriott that aren't thinking about this.
No.
I mean, I just picked up on you said Marriott. Apologies to the Marriott folks. Someone in a Marriott, but just I talk to people every day that just are not thinking
Right.
about these things. But if you are, and you mentioned Ed Schmidt earlier, in the San Francisco consensus, you are feeling it. It is in your vein right now. But everywhere else, not as much.
But isn't Ryan? Oh, by the way, any legal queries, send them to Tom Adams at
Yes. Prompt and circumstance podcast.com.
legal
We
department.
will know
Like
we've actually hit an audience if someone from Marriott reaches out and says, hold on.
But Ryan, this is the role of Silicon Valley, right? Like, because I was in the Valley in 2011 to 2015 running a software company, and that's what the Valley feels like. And that's why it's so awesome. And that's why all of the ideas, the technology, the impetus, the drive, the focus comes out of San Francisco, right? It's like, that's why it starts there. And it's totally unique, right? Well, no, not completely unique, but I've never seen any at that scale in any other major city or conurbation on the planet. So I think this is the role of San Francisco in this whole thing.
Yeah, I think actually we should take our podcast to the Starbucks next to a hyperscaler and just broadcast from there. I think we just kind of let the environment just kind of swim in it for a little bit.
And look, there's always a bell curve, isn't it? Right? There's the very, very, very early adopter, leading edge, if not bleeding edge, kinds of people. And then there's, the early majority, the late majority, and then there are the laggards. So listeners, we are in no way, shape, or form recommending that you are in the laggard category or even the late majority category. We're here to help you stay in the early majority category, be keeping up and be moving along and just be, chipping away at this and making progress.
Brian, the CEO at Starbucks, is thanking us right now because we just ushered in a whole bunch of people to go spend time in a Starbucks.
And it's going to be the center of the universe for AI podcasts.
And maybe some of the commission payments from that will pay the legal bill for you.
There it is right there. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so look, my turn. Two things this week caught my eye. The first is I realized on LinkedIn and stuff, I had a 10-year-old photo, and I'm kind of bored of meeting people who look very different from their photo, right? Like, it's extraordinary something. So I used Aragon.ai to update my headshots, and I'm telling you, it was really good. So just a thought for all the listeners out there, if you're thinking like, oh, I need to update some stuff, like some of these tools are brilliant. I'm not recommending Aragon. I've used it. I think it's great. It cost me $35. So that was interesting. But the thing that really caught my eye was actually an article which I shared with you guys, which was around Fiverr, right? And their CEO, who's made a really difficult, bold decision around transforming Fiverr for what he says is an essential move for them to keep pace with what's happening. I want to talk about that for a few minutes because I think it's like, I said at the beginning, let's have a conversation about the business of AI. Like, I think there are, a number of leaders and CEOs that are starting to think about, goodness me, like this actually has quite big implications, right? Implications for how we do things, how we organize teams, how we think about the future. And I wanted to just dig into that for a few minutes together and look at, like, what did the CEO say? Ryan, you found some brilliant stats actually this week, which you shared, which I thought would be great just to kind of prop up the conversation. But I want to start with just sharing with everyone what Fiverr announced this week. Now, set the tone of the business, $400 million revenue business in 24, growing, depends on analysts' expectations, but somewhere around 9 to 12%, quite a sizable business, listed on NASDAQ. Now, analysts are concerned about growth. Okay, so that's insight number one. Because if you're the CEO and you have analysts to please, those growth numbers become very, very important.
And Mark, remind us what Fiverr does.
Sorry, yeah, good point. Okay, so it's basically a marketplace for freelancers. Okay, it's not the only one, but it's a place where you can go and you can hire people to do very specific things. And if you are a freelancer, you're a copywriter, an art worker, a photographer. It's for the creative. It's mainly based for the creative industry. It's not like TaskRabbit. It's like, I'm not going to hire somebody to fix my sink. But if I need somebody to build an AI agent, Ryan, okay, like Fiverr would want you to go to Fiverr to find that person. And you hire them, Mike, based on jobs.
Right.
So you go, I want this thing. I need a logo designed. I want to spend $350, and you find somebody who'll help you. So it's a community. It's a listed business. Quite good, right? Anyone who can create a $400 million revenue business, in my mind, has done a great job.
Yeah.
Now, Misha Kaufman, who's the founder and CEO, he made a decision today to basically transform the business, right? And what he said was, I'll just read this out, but he said, we've got to build the next Fiverr, right? Okay. By the way, I thought his communication, which was shared on LinkedIn, I thought was good, actually. As someone who's been involved in transformation for the last 15 years, I thought it was clear, and I thought, that was a good communication, right? Like never easy, but good communication. He said, we need to accelerate and build the next Fiverr. He said, we need to create small, productive AI-first teams. And he said, to do that, we're going to have to go back to startup mode. And then the painful bit came because he said, right, unfortunately, 250 people are going to leave. But the reason is we have to create smaller, faster, flatter, leaner organization. Quote from him. And he said, this is a painful reset.
Yeah.
So I kind of think, I thought it was interesting because it was public. So it was, here's a CEO who's gone public with what is an important transformation for the business. And I think it's illustrative of what these companies are going to have to do, which is they're going to have to reimagine their business, right? That's kind of what this comes out. Now the impact of that on personnel and stuff is very specific to the business and where they're at. You guys all read the article. What came to mind when you read it?
I'll jump in a little bit. I mean, yeah, so in the middle of the article, he unfortunately reveals the fact that we're going to have to let 250 people go, which means, of course, in some of the comments, he got the kind of normal reaction that you would expect him to get, which is, well, this is just a layoff in disguise, and you put money more important than people. He got all the, he's starting to get the normal kind of stuff. But yeah, my reaction, Mark, was I agree with you. I thought it was, he threaded that, he had a needle to thread, and he did it quite well. And for me, what this is, everybody, this is an example of what we always say. Let's self-disrupt us before the world does for us. Because that's what he's basically saying. If we don't self-disrupt us, we will be disrupted, probably bigger, faster, sooner than we think, and possibly bigger, faster, and sooner than our worst nightmare. So let's do it to ourselves before it gets done to us. That's what I took away from it.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Yeah.
And that was such a drop the mic moment that Tom and Ryan are just...
I didn't know what to say after that. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
What he said.
I think what we're feeling right now is empathy. It's it's a huge transformation for a CEO and leaders in organizations to undertake right now. And it's having a prolific impact. I think we're only at the start. Mark, you've often said, whatever you've heard, AI is underhyped. And I think we're just starting to see this continual role, which is really creating an immense amount of anxiety with a number of executives. Am I doing enough? Am I doing the right things? Anxiety from an employee perspective. Am I staying ahead and still going to have my job, whatever that is, in the future of this AI agentic world? What came to mind to me was, I think it's very interesting. The Forbes had an article that was the case for agentic AI is not working, right? That 95% of these projects are not working. Only 5% of them really have significant impact. And it was interesting. The next stat was that 80% of organizations explored piloting, generative AI or LLMs, but only 40% deployment. And that really struck me because anecdotally, I am seeing individuals seeking other employment because their generative AI access at work was taken away.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
literally, there are 20-year-olds going into the workforce, and then they had AI or they asked for it, and then it was taken away. And they're like, okay, well, I guess I got to leave because I need and want that. It makes me a much better employee. But broadly across the organization, they were only 1 of 7, 1 of 10 that were actually using it. And so it didn't pass that filter or muster to go to the next level. But I think it's an interesting dynamic right now where top down, you're looking at efficiency, you're looking at skills gaps, you're making tough decisions on your workforce at scale. And interestingly, bottom up, there are those that understand the technology and can put it to work that are demanding access to it and feeling that they are going to be left behind if they don't have access to these tools.
Yeah. Tom, what was your just initial reactions when I sent you that Fiverr article? Where did your head go to?
My initial reaction was this is a critical attempt to lead the pack somehow, to make a directive that I think CEOs generally make statements to the marketplace in public forums like that because they're trying to do something, whether it be to investors, to the to whoever, the marketplace, as saying we're making deliberate steps, even to get reaction to it, even to get publicity to it. But to me, it was I'm taking a step here, and historically, I've used tons of those services, right? I've used tools like companies like Fiverr, and I've used many of them over the years. And what I saw was, okay, we're saying we're doing something different here. We're moving faster. And to me, as a potential customer, not just an investor, it was like, oh yeah, this company's got to make some moves happen in order to have a position in the marketplace because it's all eroding in some weird way. I mean, things are changing so dramatically.
Those comments from the CEO were definitely, we got to control the narrative.
Yes.
And I'm just looking at Fiverr's share price. And of course, way back when, they were a darling of the markets, they had a share price up in the hundreds, and then it almost became a penny stock, right? But sure enough, over the last week with this news coming out, the share price has taken a bump up. And I love to use share price as an analogy. I'm always asking people at the end of a meeting, whether it's a board meeting or a peer meeting or one of their internal meetings, I ask them, what happened to our share price as a result of this meeting? Of course, they mostly look at me with a blank face asking, what the heck are you talking about? We don't have a share price. We're a private company. I say, no, but if you did have a share price and the analysts had wired this room for sound and they were listening in to our conversation, would they, if they don't like what they hear, oh my gosh, these guys should be talking about this, and this, but instead of which, they're really talking about rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic here, right? These guys are going to be roadkill very soon. Share price is going down. Or if they're listening in thinking, wow, these guys are really up against it, but they're really leaning in, they're really grappling with, they're really tackling this, and they're getting courageous, and they're going to self-disrupt themselves and get after it, then share price is going up.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. And I think, like as someone who, well, all of us work with CEOs, but it's like, when I read the Fiverr announcement, I thought for all the points you guys have made, I thought, okay, they're leading the narrative. They've got out ahead of it. Like they they want and need to transform the business. So I actually thought it was a well orchestrated thing. Now, here's what I want to talk about next, right? So it's like Fiverr are moving, people are moving, right? And for some of these companies, it's meaning they're having to change their teams, right? Now, whether it's because they're like from an OpEx point of view, they need to be able to fund this development, or whether they already can imagine a slightly different size and shape of organization with the technology involved. By the way, risk always, and it used to drive me nuts as an executive of a big public company where they want the benefit like immediately and before you've had a chance to build anything. So you're in the room and you say, oh, we could maybe, if we did X, Y, and Z, we could maybe save 25 million a year. And the CFO goes, done, take it.
Yes.
And they change the spreadsheet in the meeting and you go, no, wait, we have some technology to build, but the CFO's already taken the benefit. So so anyway, I digress. But it's like so Ryan, you sent a super interesting thing this week, which was an article you found from Pragmatic Coders, and it actually had a selection of like how companies are doing, right, based on the ones that are moving now. Let's get some of those stats because I thought they were great. So I've got it open in front of me, but like which ones? Because some of them are interesting because
and Mark,
they're
it was like a compilation of all the research coming out of all the big firms, right? It was wonderful.
And we'll post that on the channel, Tom, somehow. You can show me what to do, but we'll post a link because I thought it was really interesting. But
over to you, Ryan.
Yeah.
So I focused in on the Boston Consulting Group statistics because I think as excited as we are and as urgently as we believe the CEOs and executives we work with should take this seriously, there's still some challenges, right? It's not just like, AI will solve it. And that what I mentioned earlier about a number of these having failures, BCG still had some, they noted some great stats in there that there's going to be a 45% compounded annual growth rate, right? It's just going to continue to compound over the next 5 years. Okay. They had some really salacious stats. I mean, and probably likely true. Like one of them was intelligent agents creating blog posts, reducing 95% and improving speed by 50 times. I was like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, we kind of see that.
But Ryan, imagine if they're half right. It's still massive.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally think that one's on par. This one was virtual agents to interface with customers in banking. It caught cost by 10x. A biopharma company reducing cycle time by 25%, gaining 35% efficiency in drafting clinical study reports. Yep, that all starts to line up. Then an IT department using AI agents to modernize legacy technologies, much kind of like what I talked about earlier, that increasing productivity by 40%, which personally I could say I've seen numbers that are much more salacious than that. But still, I come back to, if you're an executive, you're going to read like Forbes report that 95% of these aren't working. They're not hitting the mark. Another statistic, 50 to 70% of AI budgets are going to sales and marketing, and yet the more demonstrable ROI is coming from back office.
Interesting.
Right. So where are you focusing this attention and how, as an executive and a leader, to drive demonstrable benefit from AI or agentic AI, or how are we really being thoughtful in the way that we're planning for the next phases of our company's evolution?
That last stat, Ryan, makes no sense to me because the way to increase your EBITDA line, the easiest way is to run at cost. The hardest way is to run at revenue. Again, just an opinion, but like so it makes no sense to me that all the it does make sense from a like that's where the loudest voice is within the organization. Maybe like the sales and marketing team probably have more of the ear of the CEO than the ops team. I don't know. I mean, we're guessing here, right? But I think that's interesting because I'd want to take the cost out. That's what I'd want to do.
Yeah, you just hit on something. So we've talked about the mindset shift that needs to happen, and there are certain internal blockers within an organization that aren't ready to make that mindset shift. Typically around I control this, or nice. I don't trust this, or I immediately see the problems with this. And it was something you said that just triggered. Maybe it might be because as you get into the back office, the criticality, the 30 years of experience I have, there's no way I am letting this agent run with it. But yet on the sales and marketing side, they're like, yeah, less critical, can kind of make some mistakes. We can still kind of work around that, but I'm getting immense productivity gains, but they're not as demonstrable on the ROI. And it takes a bit more time planning, bit of experimentation where there's low risk and I can avoid fear of messing up to get it right. But there's a lot of people in that mix that have been doing it for years that aren't ready to release this to an agent. I mean, not yet. It's going to happen, but in these early stages, it's like, yeah, let sales and marketing run with it. We'll get to it here in ops in a bit.
Well, it's interesting. I've seen that in smaller businesses because you can see it really clearly from the people. It's not just a department, it's people. And I've said, hey, that seems so obvious to make an AI-driven automation. And they go, oh, wait a second, right? Like they'll let their marketing departments do it. And the marketing department is a person who's got to write copy, and they're just doing it on ChatGPT. But the finance department goes, no way in hell are you touching my spreadsheets.
I think that's it, actually.
Until 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 18, 24, 36 months, there's no choice left because the leaders have tackled that stuff and they're just moving so much better, so much faster, so much cheaper that the laggards have no choice now except to come along.
Well, in my viewpoint, that is actually actively happening. There are definitely CTOs that are not making that mindset shift.
Right.
As exciting as AI native, AI first, it's like, yeah, but look at my code base.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. And I actually had this conversation. I said, it's much like shifting from horses to cars. I mean, right now there's a number of horse wranglers that are saying the only way the beer is going to get delivered is with these Clydesdales. That's it. And so they're not going to make the change to automobiles to deliver the beer because that requires different skill sets. It breaks down. It has a max speed of 25 miles per hour or whatever that is. So we're going to continue to use horses.
Right.
In this case, deliver the beer with Clydesdales. But
which means
we're in that transition where there's others, launching in with automobiles.
Which means we need better buggy whips rather than transitioning to the next technology, or we might call that a Kodak moment.
Mike, for some people that are on the call that don't know, what is a buggy whip?
Right, exactly.
I remember
a buggy and a whip that you need to move things along. Giddy up. Anyway, when we put this link in the show notes, everybody, it is really worth going there and taking a look because I'm just scanning the sort of contents list on the right-hand side here, and you've got Microsoft, Gartner, BCG, McKinsey, Stanford, PwC, Google, Accenture. I mean, gosh, this is such a great compilation. And what I did is I scrolled all the way to the very bottom where there's a sort of fictional prediction of 2027.
Oh, no.
And repeatedly throughout this whole stuff, there's red text saying, this is not a real statistic. This is not a real statistic. It's a prediction. And the one that caught my eye is by June 2027, it is projected that there will be 200,000 AI agents thinking at 30 times human speed.
So we need to actually warn our users. Mike just found AI 27, and if you know what AI 27 is, good. If you've never read AI 27, get ready because it will scare you. It will just scare you.
So make sure you scroll to the very bottom of that link, everybody.
There's a reason why it's in red, Mike.
Yes, this is not a real statistic, but it might be.
Well, I mean, my response to that is I'm running, if you pull up my machines, I'm running probably 30 agents right now.
Yeah.
Personally. Like I've got that many going myself.
Tom.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind, everybody, that Tom does not know how to code.
Exactly.
There's a couple of things we've touched on that I think are really interesting for our listeners to think about, right? Which is, okay, when considering opportunities from AI in your business, okay, like don't fall into the loudest voice trap, right? Because yes, like for as we've just discussed, like there will like the easy low risk stuff probably looks like sales and marketing, yeah, like the ops stuff for a number of reasons feels scarier, but like how do you? So, and I don't know the answer to this, but it's like as a CEO, how do you make sure you are having a balanced conversation around where opportunity is.
That's where I'm trying to get my CEOs to with that whole better, faster, cheaper exercise that we mentioned earlier, which is, look, don't try to boil the ocean. Don't try to bite off more than you can chew. Just choose one thing that seems doable and learn the skills of how to then lean into one thing, one process, one workflow, one task, and apply a progressive AI strategy to it. Because you're going to learn a lot by doing that first thing, that then, having learned as you've gone along, now you can come back around and tackle a bigger thing and a bigger thing and a bigger thing.
Yeah. It's not though, Mike, right? Like, this is not just a technology conversation. Like we've got, like, this is about, we just said, like, this is about mindset. Ryan, you said, like, hey, the ops team often, like, they're in a different mind space for a number of reasons. And it's like, this is about system in my mind. This is about what is the system that sits around this. There's a technology component. Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a leadership component. There's a team design component. There's a collaboration component. But it's like, it's going to take you thinking about all of these things. If you buy AI technology and expect it to have impact in your business,
Yeah.
you're going to be really disappointed.
I left the technology field 25 years ago. I was a CEO of high-tech companies, software companies, and I had a sort of upside down pyramid of 10 different layers, the lowest layer of which was the technology. And then there were these 9 other layers of all of the culture, change leadership, change management,
Yeah.
human aspects, strategy aspects, execution aspects that you have to get right for this to work. And the technology is just, layer number 10.
Mike, you remind me of, like, what are CEOs doing? And I'll throw out this number, 700,000. So I started to think through in this journey what this means for large scale offshoring, and, for instance, what's happening with large system integrators in India, right? If you think through the Wipro, Infosys, TCS, HCL, Accenture, these are large scale. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of employees doing technology. In many cases, there's some pressure, not some, there will be pressure in what could be accomplished with what you would have done offshoring, but now agents and agentics could actually do this. Financial Times actually started to pick up on this summer. I started to see articles about what the impact is and how the Indian government and how these companies are starting to retool. This week, if you think about what is absolutely critical, and whether you have 7 employees, 700 employees, 7,000, or hundreds of thousands, Julie Sweet from Accenture announced that they are retooling and training 700,000 staffers on agentic AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
This week. Like, we have to take action. We need to reskill, we need to refresh, and we need to refine our workforce to be able to be adaptive, competent, capable going forward in the agentic workforce. That's skilling. Like, as a CEO, you need others around you that understand this better than you do, really, to be able to make that transformation in your organization.
Yeah, your capability building, right? You're building the capability of your enterprise to lean into agentic AI stuff. And that's not going to happen by accident. It's only going to happen by design, at scale, at least. And of course, why is Accenture doing it? Well, because if they don't, and McKinsey and BCG and these other guys do, then the end is in sight.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard a really interesting anecdote this week, which was a company waiting for a decision on an AI investment, right, for a CRM based kind of customer service thing. Okay. Felt too hard. The client offshored it. Interesting, right? Like, because they were waiting for a like $2 million purchase order to build the thing. And the client went, no, we're just going to offshore it. I mean, what, like, we don't need to talk whether that was a good decision or not, but I thought, wow, okay, hold on. Like, that's interesting.
This is going to be the Wild West. It's going to be like this.
Yeah. Like what?
It's going to be a gun. It's going to be a gunfight.
Yeah. And it's like, so was that particular leader making a decision that says they're going to do all the AI stuff there? So if I hand it to them, they can deal with it.
Yeah.
Or were they, you know, so it's really interesting dynamic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was actually, I think, also part of the Forbes article as well, that there's just an increase of, we'll never be able to get the talent we need to be able to do this, right? So we're just going to actually, so there is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Right? There is that sense of, well, what could we do that was BPO or business process outsourcing or other aspects that we now can do with agents, but there's yet another talent deficit. Like there are CEOs that would be listening to this saying, well, how do I go hire
Right.
those individuals? And they're not easy to find and they're expensive. So now I'm just going to actually have someone else do it for me.
Yeah. Guys, we're at time here, and I want to end up with like, so if we can quickly, because I just thought of one, like, let's think of what would be something that our listeners could think about, right? Great conversation, and I appreciate you guys leaning into it. Like, what could they think about based on the conversation we just had? What would be a piece of
I'll go first. Listeners, I invite you to do the same exercise. Do that little brainstorming, better, faster, cheaper. Brainstorm each individually at first, and then see where the common threads are and which opportunity sort of triangulates its way to the middle as something you can bite off and chew on and really lean into. And of course, you know, obviously I'm doing that with all my forums, all my members, which means, of course, I have to be a role model example myself. I've got to decide what my one thing is to be better, faster, cheaper, because you can be sure when I show up at my next meetings, if I can't show that I'm leaning in, they certainly will feel more permission to not lean in themselves. So that's what I'm going to be doing, Mark. And I invite our listeners to be doing the same.
And I can add to that because I think it's an important add, which is theory is one thing, but I think what you've got to do is take better, faster, cheaper, triangulate that down, and then do green light focused experiments. Like what I hear is a lot of people talking about it, but nobody's trying it. And that's what I keep pushing you guys to do, which is try stuff. And I mean, I don't know any more than any of you do, but like, I'm just trying stuff all the time. I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall and it breaks 90% of the time. But there's a comfort level in experimenting, right? And that experiment against better, faster, cheaper gives you results. And that's in a company of 10 or a company of 1 million. Doesn't matter. Like, what are the experiments you're running? What experiment could you run based on Mike's concept of triangulating the thing?
Because people, you learn by doing.
Yeah.
You only can learn so much by thinking. And if you're not careful, you think yourself into analysis paralysis. You're getting ready, but you're never fully ready. So it's like, stop getting ready and just choose something and get into it. And if it's a dead end street, it's a dead end street, but it wasn't worthless because you learned by doing. And you can back up the truck, choose something else, and now you'll be better able to move forward with perhaps the second thing or the third thing or the fourth thing will be a breakthrough item, and you'll feel like, wow, I've really made a difference now.
And if you get invited to Tom's for dinner, don't have spaghetti.
Do not. It's been on the wall multiple times.
Ryan, what do you got? What do you got for everybody?
All right, I'm gonna pull some things together here because it just kind of came to me that having these conversations with you all has really enriched me in a number of ways. One, I think of Mike and I think of conversation flow is cash flow. And Mark, I think of you and really shining the light on business change. And I was thinking, okay, if I'm listening to this, what's the one thing I could do? One, you need to shine the light on it as an executive. McKinsey had a recent report. They said you are 2 times more likely to impact that business change by actually having a weekly meeting or a quarterly meeting because you're making it a priority and creating that conversation flow.
Yep.
So make it a priority. Like get together with your ELT and say, we need to have a regular cadence, a meaningful cadence, not for meeting's sake, but a meaningful cadence on how do we take incremental steps to get actionable and get going. And I would say that conversation flow to cash flow, that making it a priority and shining a light as an executive, and statistically, it seems that having a weekly meeting about it, making it a priority, demanding that we're moving forward is the difference of making that change or not.
Yeah.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Yeah.
Mine would be this, just on something you said at the end there, Ryan, which was like the Accenture data. It's like, well, there is going to be a talent war, right? Like, do not wait to hire expensive people. Train your people, right? And we know this, don't we, Mike, from years of doing like big transformation programs for large companies. Like there was a role, right, that is still super valuable, like an agile coach in agile organizations, right? You had to grow those because there weren't any. So I see that being analogous to where we are now, right? Like, okay, we're all going to need to hire some really talented people, but you know what? Grow your people.
Yeah.
And as Accenture are doing now, like just start, right?
Grow your own. Yeah.
Everyone's going to have to learn this stuff. So if I'm a CEO listening, I'd be thinking like, how am I going to start to grow my people around AI?
Awesome.
Good. That's it. We're at time. Thanks everybody for a great conversation. I don't know how I'm supposed to end this thing, but I'm going to say I'm wishing everyone who's listening a great weekend, a great week. Don't be scared of this stuff. We're all learning, learn by doing, and hope this was hope you enjoyed this conversation. We'll see you again next time.
Next time, everybody. See ya.
See you guys.
That's a wrap for this episode of Prompt and Circumstance. Thanks for hanging out with these four at the roundtable today. If you liked what you heard, hit subscribe wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. And if you've got a thought, question, or AI hot take, send it our way. Find the bios for Mike, Ryan, Mark, and Tom, as well as show notes and more at the podcast website, promptandcircumstancepodcast.com. Until next time, keep playing, keep curious, and we'll see you in the next episode.